Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talk with Coach, the podcast where we deep dive into the realm of sales, leadership, and personal growth. I'm your host, Becca Goldsberry, an elite leadership and sales coach with Southwestern Consulting. I am thrilled to embark on another insightful journey with you. Whether you are a seasoned professional aiming to sharpen your skills or an aspiring leader hungry for knowledge, this podcast is your compass to success. Join me as we explore the strategies, tactics, and mindset shifts necessary to thrive in a competitive landscape of sales and leadership. Get ready to unlock your potential, seize your opportunities, and conquer challenges like never before. Buckle up and let's embark on this transformative voyage together. Welcome to Talk with Coach. You guys, I have another fabulous guest with me. And today, this guest of mine, he is a full-time stay-at-home dad who is a part-time entrepreneur and YouTuber. He is a student of life who loves to play with others and help them to win at it as well. He prioritizes his time with his family, his own personal, mental, physical, and spiritual health. So please welcome Fabio. So Fabio, you guys, if you've been following me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, he is the guy behind the scenes. I just film. I just make my videos. Fabio makes me look good. So Fabio, welcome to Talk with Coach.
It's awesome to be on here. I've clipped up so many clips of all your conversations with everyone else.
I know, right? I mean, like, you're literally the guy behind the scenes.
Yes.
Really
it's fun
are.
being behind the scenes.
Well, I was going to say, you love what you do, obviously.
Yes. And that's why, like, even though once I started having my first son and I had so many clients, I was like, I still want to do what I do a little bit. And I don't have the time for everybody. So I'm going to pick my favorites and stay with them.
I'm so blessed that I get to be one of those favorites. So, Fabio, will you just share a little bit with everybody your journey and your story on how you got to be where you are? Because it's a fun story.
Yes. Well, I mean, I could go back really far, but I'll start at the fact that I started in the corporate world. And Becca, I most likely would have never met you if I stayed in the corporate world. And
Yeah.
going into it was I came straight out of college and I was like, okay, I got to get a job right away. And I got one sophomore year and I said, yes, I'll stay with you, Coles, once I get out of college. And I was set in stone. I thought that was the track I needed to be on. And as I got into the corporate world, I realized, oh, there's a little bit more on the outside. And luckily, I had one of my friends, she was an admin to my VP, and she reached out to me and she was like, my husband needs some help with a book cover. And I was like, okay, I can help with that book cover 100%. And so I met with him, started making his book cover, and he was a financial advisor and an advisor in general. And I had never really worked with anyone other than like someone from Northwestern Mutual. But what my new mentor and financial advisor brought to the table was, he was like, it sounds like you have more that you want to do. You're running a personal training firm with your brother on the side. I can help you guys with that. I can coach you through it. And that's when my eyes opened. I was like, oh, this was just a side gig I was doing with my brother. I was doing a personal training business. I was running the social media for it, making sure we were making proper videos and whatnot. And he showed me it could be a lot more. And when COVID happened, that's when the biggest shift changed, where I went from being in the corporate world to being laid off and going, whoa, what am I going to do now? Am I going to go work for somebody else or am I going to work for myself? And luckily, I met Brent Widman from Southwestern Consulting and I helped him put some captions onto videos. And then he introduced me to you, Becca. And it really started to pick up from there, just from being captions on videos to really helping everybody realize, hey, there's a potential of showing who you are on social media to show that you are the expert in your field. And so that years and years down the line, they can see what you are the expert at. Because that's the practice that I did for our personal training business, was showing people what we did and more people would interact with us. So I started to build up my skills in video editing, figuring out what type of content people like, figuring out what type of content will last the longest throughout time, and just really honing in on it and building a business. And I didn't know, but I built a business up to having 5 people on my team, working with 10 different clients. making the
Yeah.
most money I've ever made in months as time all the way up to like $15,000 in a month. And I was like, this is insane. But now, fast forward through all of that, I had a son and I realized what the true meaning of life was. And it's what it's always been for me. And it's just to learn as much as possible. And seeing what we all started from, seeing where all these little sacks of meat that our parents guided us through life, taught us how to talk, taught us how to crawl, taught us how to do every little thing. I realized that it's really about learning. It's about learning and giving back to everybody else so that we can all make this world a better place. So I'm here now as a full-time dad, and I have my own YouTube channel as well that I'm giving out more information on how I've navigated problems that I've gone through and how I'm achieving success in life. And at the same time, I get to work with you, Becca, and Will, and really
Yeah.
help you guys put your message out there as well. Because yes, there's a lot of other coaches out there, but they are selling a dream that's not truly achievable. And they want people that are going to stick to their program and do that $29 and then $100 payment for one thing, and then a big seminar that's $5,000, but not really teaching them much. And they're targeting more of those teens, whereas you guys are looking for those professionals. And I love that you're making it so people can take their business from maybe they're making 50% less than what they could do when they work with you guys, really learning how to prioritize. I mean, I learned a lot from you how to schedule in
Yeah.
my life.
That's right. That's right. As parents, we got to fit it all in, don't we?
Yes, we definitely do.
So I would love for those of you guys who have seen my content from the very beginning of Fabio, like before I met Fabio to meeting Fabio, and then Fabio and I just trying to work into the trends, the algorithms, because you guys, that changes, I think, almost daily, it seems like. Figuring out what you guys want to listen to and stuff. Like, Fabio, share with us kind of like the journey that we have taken literally over the last 3 years,
Yes.
figuring out this whole thing called social media.
Yes. I mean, at the beginning, Becca, we were like, I had the whole big list for you. I was like, here's all these questions we need to answer that people are looking for. And then here are these types of videos that we can do that are trends. And what really started to set in was how much time is needed for a certain scalable level of social media. And
Mm,
doing more research at the beginning, it was like, oh yeah, we can do all of this, Becca. We could post every single day. We can have picture post. We can have reel post. We can have you just doing like a little tour, X, Y, and Z, answering questions. And it started to add up in time. And then you
yeah.
have to go on top of it. We realized you can't just have an account that's not reacting to people, looking at other stuff. And it all started to add up. And as doing more research, and when I say research, it's buying courses from other people that are like, hey, this is how you do this on social media. I realized that it all boiled down to just stick with one thing and keep moving forward with it. Because if you buy a bunch of different courses, like if someone went to Southwestern and they were like, I love Southwestern's coaching, now I'm going to PWS coaching, or I'm going to Patrick Bet-David coaching, or I'm going to Elliott coaching, and you switch around too much, then you have too many tools that you can't really focus on. And that's what I realized when we were first starting out, because we had, okay,
Yeah.
we're going to answer all of these questions, Becca. Oh, there's this trend happening right now. We should click onto that. Oh, we should do these posts. And once we got into year two, I feel like we really started to hone in. We
We
started to
did.
hone in on
Really.
what you loved talking about. And it took a while to get to that point because we had to build up skills too. We had to
Absolutely.
build up you being in front of the camera, because isn't it awkward being in front of the camera at first and just talking to it, Becca? Like, that's the weirdest part.
It was. And because I'm used to speaking to large audiences and large teams, even small teams, but speaking to a camera, it's like, okay, what do I do with my hands? And, where do I look? And all of those things, all the nuances. And then you have to remember, well, you just got to be yourself.
Yes. And that's where it comes down, because we see these people online and we have so many of them come in front of us and they all are truly being themselves. But since we see so many people being themselves, we think we have to do it in the way each one of them is doing it. And that's where we all get sidetracked. And that's what I realized once we hit that year two. It was like, okay, Becca, let's make things you like to do. Let's brainstorm. Let's word map it out. I love that you always do your little web maps, because we figure out,
Yeah.
okay, this is a topic you like. Here's how you'll talk about it here, 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 here. And we've seen more success with that of a consistent viewer base, right?
Well, we also look at how many views like a video gets. Like, oh,
Hmm.
okay, they love this topic or this string of topics. So maybe we go with that for a while. And then something will trigger and we're like, huh, maybe we need to talk about leadership instead of the time management piece next, right? So it's funny how, for those of you guys who are listening, we will literally look at your views and your comments and what people are liking. So, you know, if you want to know how I decide what's working, you're getting the inside scoop of how mine and Fabio's brain works, which can be a little scary at times.
Yeah, yes. And like when it comes to us looking at those, what we everyone calls analytics, I think
Yeah.
at the beginning we had so many. I had a whole spreadsheet where we are like, okay, look at this, look at this. It was like maybe 10 metrics on each social media
Oh,
platform,
yeah.
which it was pulling us really far. It was like, oh, maybe we need to do more of this because you'd see things like impressions versus views versus new viewers versus subscribers. How many comments? How many engagements? How many times was it shared? And that's good to have. But once you look at too much of it, it's just like when you look at too much in your life, you really start to get muddled. You really start to be like, oh man, I wish all of them were up. I wish I could have all of them up. But if you focus on all of them, none of them are going to move up.
Amen. And I think at one point it felt like we were focusing on all of them or trying to at once. And that's,
Yes.
I think you and I both looked at each other on one of our calls and we're like, okay, this is not working. We're being
No.
pulled in too many directions. So,
Yes. And
yeah.
once it boiled down, I think on the beginning of year 3, I sat down with you and we were like, okay, what's the goal for YouTube? All right, we want this many subscribers. Well, that's an easier thing to track than, okay, I want this many views, this many likes, this many shares. And it's
Absolutely.
once we focused on that, instantly your subscribers started to jump up.
Right.
Right. And before we were getting, maybe we'd have a video that got like 1,000 views or like 600 views or 400 views, which for everybody that's listening, when you think about any social media platform and you look at views, you should stay away from comparing yourself to other channels and more comparing yourself to, okay, I got 10 on this video, 10 on my next 10 videos. I got 40 on that other one. What was that video that got 40 different about the other videos that got 10? Because if we're
Mm,
constantly looking at the other channels that have 10,000 views, 200,000 views, the one thing me and Becca always talk about is they have been doing social media since before you can even see their timestamp on their channel. They've made so many different channels and they've gone through the process of what do I do best? How do I communicate
yeah.
the best? And it's because they narrowed down. Whereas, like we were saying, we were focusing on Instagram metrics like crazy. We were focusing on LinkedIn metrics so crazy, YouTube, Facebook. But now we boil it down to, okay, we like the Instagram to grow. Okay, how many followers do we have? What's
Right.
our average view? Then it was on the LinkedIn side, the main thing is really doing the blog post and having people be able to see the big hub of the YouTube channel and focusing on those subscribers. And when we narrowed that down, it made it easier for us to focus and using Facebook as a place to share everything and just making it a duplicative platform. So when someone's going through social media and you're starting out, it's the biggest tip I could give in general is take 3 years of our experience working together is just
That's
focus
correct.
on one and a couple little metrics and just set a little goal. And that goal will build up and then you can keep adding more goals to it as you keep moving.
Mm-hmm. No, and somebody asked me recently, well, when did you decide you wanted to do a podcast? And I'm like, that was always on the radar. That was always on my vision board, right? It was trying to be able to figure out when do I have enough time to be able to do it. And so this year, I remember in December talking with you, Fabio, and I'm like, okay, this year we're going to start it. And you're like, we are. And I was like, this year we are. Let me, work out my calendar. And so we know on Fridays, I typically do my podcast where I record all of them with my amazing guests. And then you're like, okay, let's post it on Tuesday. And so, like, but you don't just go out and just go do. I would highly recommend have a little thought process. If you're thinking about doing a podcast or starting a YouTube channel, just map it out a little bit, you know?
Exactly. It's that mapping process that's the most important, because you don't want to get on and, I mean, all the gurus, I love using that word because that's what everyone calls themselves, as a guru of social media. They'll tell you post on TikTok every day, post on Instagram every day, post here every single day, every day, every day. But then when you find out about the biggest people, you realize they're only focused on one platform. You realize they have one thing that they liked and they mapped out what they're going to do. Like with Becca's podcast in general, I know that she has everything scheduled out for till the end of the year is the podcaster lined up to come out. And you have it all scheduled out. Whereas if you had come into it and told me, Fabio, we're going to do this podcast thing, and maybe I have someone this week, I might have someone the next week. What happens is you don't have that consistent flow of content coming out.
That's
and
great.
It's just like if you go to the grocery store and they don't have a consistent flow of food, are you going to go back to that grocery store if one week they don't have anything for you? It's
Probably not.
probably not, right? Like if you want bananas and the next week it's not there and you're like, well, I'm going to go to the other one because they always have bananas. It's just the same with when you start a podcast, when you start the social media, plan it out. And Becca's like an expert planner. She has an amazing schedule. So when I heard you were going to make your podcast, I had no worries at all. And honestly, we found out it's an amazing way for you to create content because you're amazing at conversations and talking with your clients. And that's what you do on the daily. And whenever someone's listening, like if someone is listening right now and you're over here and you're like, I want to start doing social media like Becca, I want to do a podcast. The question is to ask yourself, do you like talking to people or do you like talking to a camera more? You have to feel that out. You have to test it. And then you can go and say, ooh, talking to that camera was a little awkward. Maybe I'll have someone in person with me. Maybe I'll talk with someone on the camera over a video call. You really just test out everything. And honestly, the first 2 years of making content is usually feeling out what you like to do.
I would 100% agree with that. Speaking of content like social media platforms, it is so interesting. And there is still such a large debate. Do you do TikTok, which we stopped doing a long time ago, like 2 years ago? I think we did it for a brief time.
Yes.
And then we stopped. Do people do Instagram? Do they do LinkedIn? Do they do Facebook? Do they do YouTube? Do they do whatever? So I would love for you just to kind of share, what are you seeing in the social media world? What is most effective, not effective? What are the gurus telling us at this moment, Fabio? Because it'll change tomorrow.
Yes, it'll definitely change tomorrow. And to give the biggest picture of it all, and it's the one that stays throughout time, is sticking with the one social media platform you want to be seen on the most. And so to do that, you have to ask yourself a question. How much time do I want to give to social media? And so what the gurus will tell you is they'll be like, hey, do Instagram and post this many times a day, post this amount of times, post this. If you want to take an Instagram type of route, which I call vertical scrolling platforms, which you want to think of vertical scrolling as Instagram, TikTok, I'd say Pinterest. If people are using Pinterest, that's really like home interior people. Snapchat, that has a whole feed in itself. But when you talk about vertical scrolling platforms, I don't really throw Facebook into it because a lot of people still use desktop for it. They'll search exactly for their friends. But what vertical scrolling means, people are just going to see random things all the time. They're not going to be able to find the content in the past easily. And so when it comes to a platform like that, and what I would say if I was one of those guru people out there, is I'd say you have to post every day. You have to post on your stories every day. And it's the most time allotting social media platform out there. But it does come with a positive effect. It comes with, you can interact with the individuals right away. You have the DMs that you can message directly, and you can directly get them to your funnel per se. And the problem that comes with doing a vertical scrolling platform is that you're becoming the expert, but you have to fight for the attention every single minute of every single day, because those people aren't on there to find information. They're on there to really, and this is why I wanted to get into the social space, but they're on there to get their dopamine fix. And everyone that's in business knows that, okay, there's this one thing that I need to do to get my client to be happy or to get a sale to happen. And that's because we're fixated on achieving the happiness of that dopamine receptor. In social media, each platform has a different way of attacking it. And when it comes to vertical scrolling, it's called doom scrolling. And as long as that platform can keep that person scrolling, they'll keep pushing out more videos. So when you have a platform like Instagram, I'd say that's the route you want to go if you have a whole system of, I have a funnel that I want people to go in. I have courses that I want to sell. I have this, and you just want to make as much money as fast as possible by putting as much time as possible into it, and your business doesn't actually take your time to do. Like maybe you have a course to sell and it's only one course. Then you go onto Instagram and you're like, all right, my course is already built. I know people can use it without me being a part of it. So let me post as many times, 20 times on my story on Instagram, 50 times a week on posts throughout the week. Because I know if someone goes and clicks my link, then I'm going to have them sign up and I don't have to do anything with them.
Right.
And then when it comes to a coach or a person that's going to be giving financial advice, it comes to being that expert. And honestly, vertical scrolling platforms aren't going to set you as that expert to work with people you want to work with on the level that you already work with them. Like I said, on vertical scrolling platforms, these people are here for a quick fix, which means they want a quick fix in your product too. They don't want to sit down with a coach. They won't have the attention span. They don't want to give that amount of time. They're looking for something that's going to make their life easy real fast. Now, when you look at something that's a long-term platform, which is really a Facebook when it comes to being more social and community and family living, and then you have YouTube, which is people are searching for information. And I found out right at the beginning when YouTube got purchased by Google that they were using it as their main hub to give out information. When you search on Google, YouTube videos pop up right away, right?
Absolutely. Because that was happening around the time we started working together.
Yes.
They bought out, and you're like, let's start looking more into YouTube. And I said, okay, let's go for it. Because you're right. My clients aren't going to be the fast acting clients. They're like, how do I ask for referrals? Or I need help on time management. How do I wrap my brain around this? Or I'm a leader and I'm struggling working with this newer generation, or whatever the case may be, right? So they're looking like just for help.
Yes. And
so
you can't,
that's where that comes into play.
Right. And you can't find that on a vertical scrolling platform because it's going to give you what it thinks you like of what attention you're giving it. And sometimes that attention isn't good spaces to put it. You might be finding funny memes too much, and then they'll keep pushing that out to you. Whereas on YouTube, you search it, you're going to find more of it. So when it comes to being a professional in your area and you want to seem like a professional, the two places I always talk about going to is number one, YouTube, because your videos stay there forever. You can show you're the expert. They may not get thousands of views, but no matter what, your client sees you. They're like, let me look up Becca. Oh, wow, Becca has 200 videos on YouTube. Oh my gosh, they're all about topics that I want to be better at. So Becca really is good. I would love to work with Becca. It's much easier to show that someone's an expert when they have all the resources out in the open. They show that they talk about this all the time. And the other platform I always push for is a LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn's a whole nother beast because if you're right, when you're in the professional space though, why are you scrolling on LinkedIn while you're at work? Are you working? Are you doing this? What are you actually doing on LinkedIn? So it's a tricky area to be because there are gurus that say, post on LinkedIn to get clients, do this, this, and this. But Becca, what did we see when we started posting on LinkedIn like crazy in the DMs? There were a lot of people using bots saying, hey, I saw your post. It was so amazing, but look at what I have for you guys. Blah, 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 blah. I'd love to set up a meeting. And we were getting hundreds of those a day.
Oh my goodness. I don't know how many people around the world are still sending me DMs about, hey, do you have a social media person? Or, hey, how many assistants do you need? I already got an amazing assistant. Leslie's a fabulous, and Fabio's great in my social media, so no, I don't need anybody else. Thank you. And then they'll ask questions about corporate. And I'm like, well, you got to go talk to the corporate people down in Nashville. That is so not me. Like, so it is amazing. All of these people and all of these bots, they will bombard your inbox, which is the bad part about LinkedIn now. I think, I think what we all see, and I don't know, those of you guys who are listening, how many junk messages are you getting for people buying and they're not using it the right way, right? So like when I use LinkedIn and I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love to be introduced to this person. One of the things we always teach our coaching clients, right, is one, how to get those warm introductions and say, hey, my friend Fabio thought you and I should connect. Would love to be able to set up a time and just introduce myself and learn more about you, right? But now we're all being so bombarded by just
Mm-hmm.
spam. I've heard LinkedIn is now going to be switching up some things. So it'll be interesting to see all the changes that LinkedIn does here in the near future.
Yes. And that's the next point I wanted to hit because, like, what I explained just now, and I talk a lot, I talk real fast. There's always so much going in my mind because that's what it takes to do this social media thing.
Oh,
You have to see everything. And honestly, these algorithms are what run everything.
mhm.
Before, it was on a vertical scrolling platform, it was easier to find the people you liked. And then they were like, wow, YouTube has an awesome algorithm. We need to figure it out. And then TikTok came out and they're like, whoa, TikTok keeps people on it forever. So they just started showing videos. And so
Yeah,
when it comes to these algorithms in general and how they really work, it really plays a big part in which social media platform you want to be on. The quick fix, the quick money, the most amount of time allotted is really those vertical scrolling platforms. The long term success, the long term value you can give a client is on those platforms they have to actually search on. And when it comes to those algorithms, we have to really kind of drop them out of our head, but we have to understand which platform is more addictive when it comes to their algorithm. Because if we think too much about the algorithm and we're like, wow, I just found out from this guy that this one's pushing pictures more. So I'm going to stop making my videos and I'm just going to do pictures. Well, maybe you're not good at pictures. And
right.
now your viewers don't want to look at pictures. They wanted to hear your voice. They wanted to see you and vice versa. They're always going to change up the algorithms, but we have to stay true to what we want to do and what our viewers want to see. With Becca, we know they loved what she talked about. We know that when she talked more about family relations and being more personal with people, they liked it. So what's the best route to go? A podcast that's really personal with her clients. When she wanted
Yeah,
to do a podcast, it made the most sense. And what do you do with a podcast? You clip it up and make sure other people can see it. So they go, wow, I would like to listen to this. I would like to go see Becca. So they get those little nuggets of information and they can go to the podcast. And if they're looking for the big bite of information, they type it in on the Google and it says, wow, I really need help with time management. Wow, Becca has a lot of videos on those on YouTube. Oh my gosh, there's a 40-minute podcast where Becca's talking to another person about time management. Let me check that out. So it really comes down to figuring out which way you want to make content. If you want to give the most time as possible to it, posting every day and giving out a quick, cheap thing for people to buy that maybe won't give them success, but you're making money.
yeah,
Or you could give a lot of value, put a lot of time in the back end on the other side where they don't see, wow, they recorded so many videos on that one day. And then I got to see them all put out over weeks of time. That's really where you have to make your decision and then think about the algorithm of, okay, I know that when I'm on this platform, I see a bunch of random stuff, but when I go to this platform, I see exactly what I want. And when I'm on LinkedIn, I see the people I like and who I would like to be my client or who I would like to work with in general. So it comes down to just pushing out the noise, realizing that yes, there is stuff in the back end, but what do you want to do? Where do you like to be all the time? Like I know Becca watches YouTube for her
I do.
information, for her entertainment. I'm not going to tell Becca, we need to post more on Instagram because I know she's not on Instagram all day. Why
That's
would
right.
she want to post on a platform she's not even on? So questions to ask yourself, where do you want to post? Where do you like to be? And what do you like to do?
I know. Speaking of like to be, I do. Like, I love watching. We actually got rid of our Sling subscription about a month ago, and because we were always watching stuff on YouTube. Like, I can watch my weather, I can watch my news updates because I don't watch a whole lot of news. But if I need to see a clip about something, I can do that. And then we've got my stuff that I love to watch about travel and like history stuff. It's all on YouTube. So, and then you've got Michael's stuff like how do I do something on my car, right? So you've got Michael's random. So I'm sure Fabio, when he sees like my YouTube stuff, when he's posting like, well, Becca's traveling to Australia because we've got all kinds of Australia stuff popping up anytime soon, or you know so it is fun, and I love the YouTube, and I love LinkedIn. Those are my two favorite. Like, and so hopefully you guys, as you guys are listening, this is giving you some ideas on social media, how to use it best for you, your clients too. Um, but Fabio, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face as a small business owner, entrepreneur? What were some of the biggest challenges that you had faced? Because you're like where you started to where you went, and then now with Luca being born and staying at home with Luca, like I would love for you to share some of those, challenges that you faced and decisions you had to make.
Yes. Well, first of all, I was blessed to work with individuals like you, Becca, at Southwestern, where they're helping people grow their businesses in general. And I'm watching all y'all's videos all day long and realizing, wow, thank goodness I had them to direct me. Like this video was talking about time management. And I realized in my life, oh my God, I'm spending too much time on work. Where's my personal life? And when I first started the journey, there was a lot that popped up. Of course, when you type in how to be an entrepreneur or how to start a social media agency, there's a lot of people giving you info. And the number one thing they tell you is this is how you make the most money doing this. And it was the number one apple I had to keep pulling away from on the tree. I had to be like, I don't want to take that right there. Like I should be doing something else. I should be providing more value, but it would always pull me back. And I'd say that's the biggest thing I had to fight when building my own business. And I feel like a lot of new entrepreneurs have to fight that as well. Because if you focus on the money and not the value you're bringing, you end up working with people you didn't want to work with. You end
Mm,
up doing things you didn't want to do. And then your business starts to go a direction you didn't like, and you start to resent what you were doing. And the reason why I say this was because my journey started with helping Brent put some captions on. Okay, cool. I like doing that. I like editing those videos. That's fun. Then Becca came into the picture and it was more of, okay, let's document it. I have to figure out how to record her, figure out how to work a camera. Okay, let's figure out topics to record. Everything was still in my ballpark because that's what I did for my own personal training business. And when I talk about that personal training business, that was when I was in a corporate world. So I wasn't really the full entrepreneur there. It was my side hustle. But when I got into the actual entrepreneur world and I started working with Becca's and I started working with Will's, I realized, wow, I have skills that I want to develop. Okay, how do I develop these skills? And I started to research them. And while I was researching the skill of how to edit a video better, a video would pop up that say, how to edit videos better to make $1 million a year. And I go, let me click that one for a second. The Apple came up again and I'd go and I'd be like, maybe I should buy that person's course. And it was the biggest thing to fight as an entrepreneur because then once I saw how much these people were making, which I know after seeing so many courses that they're making money off of the course and not actually working with their clients anymore, I
yep.
realized that I was like, huh, I need to focus on my business more and just build these skills because what's happening right now is every time I see someone else making more money technically in the area of business that I am doing, I get sad because I'm not making enough. And I got stuck in the first, I mean, I only did it about 3 years in total, but I was growing as much as possible. And one day I was in this coaching seminar thing. It was a bunch of other people in my local area. And it was like different coaches, mental health coaches, business coaches, personal training coaches. And they had like this coaches roundtable. And one day we were all sitting there and everyone's giving their stories about, oh, I'm struggling with this in life, or this is what's happening. And I went to the emotional coach one, and she asked this question to everybody: what's your biggest goal this year? Not a business goal, just a goal. And when it came to mine, I looked at her and I was like, it's to make $1 million. And tears started to come out of my face. And she was like, what's going on? Are you okay? And I was just like, I want to make $1 million this year because I said I would do it in 2 years because it's so possible. And all these people say I can do it in business and they say you should be able to do it. And I'm scaling and I'm pushing. She goes, but why is it becoming a physical thing for you right now? Tears are coming out of your face. And I was like, it's just, I spend so much time. Like I work from 7 a.m. all the way till 10 p.m. I'll be networking all day. I'll meet with this many people and then I'll have this many clients. And I have a whole team of 5 people. And as I started listening off more and more, she didn't even have to say what was wrong. I realized I was doing way too much for a goal that was not going to make anything else happen other than more stress. Because one of my quotes that I love that I created for myself, I don't know if someone else has said it, maybe I heard it in the past, but no money, more problems. more money, even more problems. Because if you don't know how to, and that builds up into a bigger thing of, if you don't know how to build a business, if you don't know how to work with other people, if you don't know how to delegate, and you don't know how to use your money properly, and then you get all of that, like I had a team of 5 people and I had money coming in like crazy, it just added more stress, because then I was like, all right, I'll put all the money here, 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 here. And at the end of the day, I wasn't paying myself. I wasn't paying myself enough, and I was paying a team a lot more. And I
Yep.
realized I was hunting for the money. So when it comes to the entrepreneur aspect, it's really about avoiding the money part. Because when I found the most joy was when my son was born and I got to work with Becca and Will. And I just got to work on their videos. Because when I was building my business to make 15,000 in a month, I was working with a client that was absolutely mean to me. And it's just because his personality. And I knew who he was, but I was like, he pays me the most. I'm going to get the
Right.
most out of this. I need to work with him. And then I started finding people for one-offs of, wow, this person will pay me $10,000 to go record a day and then make a couple videos for them. Yeah, I'll totally do it. But I'd get out there and I'd be like, man, why am I doing this? This is 4 hours in my day that I could be working on something else that I love doing. And then I was delegating to everyone, but things that I wanted to do. And I realized that the things that I was doing that I didn't like, I wasn't delegating. As I watched more videos from Becca and I watched more videos of Will, I started to realize, wow, I dug myself into a hole that is really hard to get out of. And I'd say that's the biggest thing to watch out for, because when you're the entrepreneur, and I'll say it again, you're hunting for that money. But when you hunt for that money, you're going to dig a deep hole. There's the picture of when a person is digging for gold and that person stops too early, and then the other person keeps on digging and gets that gold. But no matter what, look how big of a hole they had to dig. Do you think they liked being in that deep hole? If you want to go in that deep hole and you want a mental effect to happen onto you that you weren't prepared for, then yeah, go ahead and do it. But what I've learned is that a lot of my surrounding circle that makes a lot of money isn't really as happy. And there was one moment that really clicked, and it was after my son was born. And I went to a seminar, and it's this thing, it was called the Young Guns Network. And it was just this networking group. I've been to a bunch of them. I actually partnered with them to make videos for them. It's no longer around because the creators of it were too stressed running the event.
Oh, wow.
And right? Exactly. It's crazy. It
Yeah.
was for entrepreneurs and they were too stressed. And so I started to see those key things of, okay, being stressed isn't really working out. But there was this one individual, and he talked about how he had sold his businesses, and he sold 3 different businesses for 10 million and then 50 million and then 100 million. And I'm like, wow, I need to talk to this guy, because he also talked about having kids and he had a family. And he's like in his 60s, maybe 70s, and now he just is an advisor. And I went up to him and I was like, hey, how'd you really juggle like family life and work? Because I'm a new dad. Like, my son was just born a month ago, and right now it's hard for me to be at this event. But how'd you juggle it? And he looked me in the eyes and he said, I did my best. And now I am where I'm at and spending as much time as possible with them. And when he said, I did my best, all I heard was regret in his voice. I didn't have
Ooh,
to ask him any more questions, because when he was on stage, he expressed how much time he gave to the business. He lost one of his best friends in a fire for one of their businesses and had to keep going. And I realized that life will test you as much as possible for the things that you want. And if you want money, I heard this quote from someone else on Instagram where it said, if you want $1 million and I give you $1 million, but the next day I send you a message saying your best friend is gone in life, will you pay $1 million to get that friend back, or will you let that friend disappear? And I realized that the chase for money is the biggest downfall to any entrepreneur, any business in general, when it comes to any part of life. You may not be poor, you may not be living a bad life, but are you truly happy? Is there something inside of you that's missing? Because you'll see online, you'll see all of these people preach that you need to
right.
put X amount of time into it. And then they say, but you have to sacrifice this. And that's because they came to terms with it. But you can see there's something missing in their life. You can see there's a joy that they're missing. And there was an amazing person. Last thing of this, Vanessa Liu or something like that, I believe. She's an entrepreneur when it comes to social media. And I learned
Okay.
a lot from her when it came to Instagram. And she had this thing that was called something for Instagram explosion or dominate and make your business big. And she made millions. And then after I learned a lot about her, and I was like, I'll never buy her course, but let me keep watching. There was a whole year she just appeared from social media. She said she was gone. She closed her whole course, closed everything up. A
Oh,
year later,
wow.
she came back a year later, y'all, and she was honest. She's like, I made the most money I've ever made ever during that business. I did no longer had to be a Starbucks barista. But what happened was I realized I wasn't happy in life. So the reason why I took off a year was because I had all this money that I had no idea what to do with. And I realized that the money was there to make me be able to experience the things I wasn't letting myself experience while working hard on this business. And then, of course, she's still doing something else, but she's making way less money and way more happy. She has way less of a following of building for business and more of a following of this is how I live my life now. This is what I do. And she's not as focused on money anymore and more focused on the experience of life. And honestly, my entrepreneur journey went from make as much money as possible to how can I truly be happy? How can I make sure that people that I'm working with are happy? Because I kept biting that apple of let's make as much money as possible. And it was the biggest downfall because once I got to my son being born, I didn't have infrastructure to keep my business going. I didn't have it set up in the way that I wanted it to keep it going. And I realized I need to pull it back. I need to pull back into a smaller scale so I can focus on my life. And then I have something that I do on the side to make the income that I want to make and still be able to live my life, which Becca, I know from you and your schedule that you prioritize that all the time. You go
Yes.
on vacations with your family. You hang out with Dad and Michael all the time. You guys are always doing family things. And it's because I know from your background that
Yeah,
you had a family that you worked with on their business. And you guys still have your family business. You
we
learned
do.
a lot of skills. You learned about doing things of this is how I do my laundry. This is how I prioritize doing chores and working with the family and still going out and about with friends. And you had a good knowledge base of this is how you keep everything balanced. And the biggest thing, and I'll say it, and this is the last time I'll say it, the biggest thing that we see on social media, and it's pulling the youth away, which is why I'm happy you're doing what you're doing, because it pulls the youth away and tells them you need to make as much money as possible online. Because
Mm.
if you're not, you're a brokey and you're not achieving anything in life. And why would you do that when you're built for greatness? And it's just a trap so that those people can make more money. And maybe you will make more money, but they're feeding off the part that you'll never be fulfilled with the money you make because the amount of time you have to give to make that money won't make you feel fulfilled. And this, you know Dave Ramsey, Becca?
Oh, I love Dave Ramsey.
I love
Yes.
Dave. I learned so much from Dave. And the other day, a person got onto his podcast, a 37-year-old, 7 years older than me, 37-year-old learned online, I need to be financially independent. And okay, yeah, that's a good goal. And he reached the millionaire status and he got onto the podcast with Dave and was like, Dave, I'm on step number 7 and I paid off all my debts and I'm a millionaire with my wife and we go on vacations all the time, but I don't know how to feel fulfilled in life. And he literally said, I made all of this money and I have all of this money, but I don't know what to do now, Dave. What do I do which will make me happy? And that's the biggest downfall of a lot of entrepreneurs and why their businesses fail after 2 years, 3 years, and they can't make it 10 years in because there's no happiness in it. There's no
No.
happiness.
Well, and you know this, and what we always talk about at Southwestern with our coaching clients is what's your mission? Do you
Mm-hmm.
have a mission statement? What's your vision? And then do you have a vision board to make sure you're staying excited about your mission and vision? So
Yes.
people will start these businesses, they'll start these side hustles, as some people call it, right? But there's
Mm-hmm.
no clearly defined, this is my purpose, this is my mission, this is why I do what I do. And then they just go out for the money. And then they
Yep.
get burned out, or it doesn't work, or they feel like failures. But there wasn't a purpose why they started this, anyways. So, how I always tell people and what I personally feel and believe is like have a strong purpose, have a strong mission and vision in your why, have those things set in your stone because that's your foundation. And then create a schedule. So let's face it, there's no balance in life, but are you making enough time for the priorities of your life? Do we
Yes.
need to work hard to start a business? 100%. Do we need to do the things to make it a success? Yes. But plan it out.
Yeah.
Like, don't just work 7 to 10,
Mm-hmm.
6 days a week and think you're going to be fulfilled. So you might need to work, 6 to 10, maybe 1 or 2 nights a week that first year of your business to get things going. But you got to prioritize everything else. And if you're not giving your family, your friends, your hobbies, the charities, your philanthropy, the things that you love, church, God, all of the things, if you're not giving that enough time either, you're not going to be happy. You nailed it. You're just not. Like, no money in the world. I think this that quote, more money, more problems. I think that's a Mace song featuring P. Diddy. I think that's a 1998 Mace
Yes.
song. That might be it. You guys, if I'm wrong, let me know. But I think that's in a Mace song with P. Diddy, I think. So more money, more problem. Maybe it's Biggie. One of the two. One of those three.
Yeah, it's
So
one of them for sure.
yeah, absolutely. So, but you nailed it. Like, money doesn't buy happiness. And if you're a
Mm-hmm.
Christian or if you are a faith, you can't take it with you anyways.
Nope. Uh-uh.
So, what's your legacy? So, I love hearing like Warren Buffett and I love hearing, the billionaires talk about, well, my legacy is this. Like, I know I can't take all these billions with me, but what my plan is to build a legacy moving forward for my kids and my children and their children, and right, it's that legacy piece. So, and that goes back to the vision and mission and purpose, and so
Yes.
many people are missing that piece.
Exactly. And I know, me personally, I know what it sounds like when I was talking just now. I say all of these negative things, but that's because, like, I truly know that for there to be a positive, you must realize all the negative things that are happening so that you can appreciate the positives that'll come when you learn from it. Wherever there is dark, there can always be light. Light will always outshine the dark. And that's what I realized when I was in that hard place of chasing the money and everything was going down. But life was really telling me, hey, slow down, turn around. You have a family you need to focus on. When you focus on your
Mm,
family, you'll be happy and money won't even matter. The money will just come in and you'll be able to live the life you guys want. And that's the
yeah,
hardest thing as an entrepreneur, really balancing that.
I love that. No, I love that. So, Fabio, one of the questions, and you know this, I always love ending on this question, so hopefully, if not, I should have asked Marco, but what is the funniest story you can share with us about growing up?
Man, the funniest story. Okay, let me think here. Let me think here. So, just in general, I mean, like, life is funny in general. It might not be a funny story of like it's laughter or anything, but it's more about the fact that it's funny to me how I approached life in general. I had this view that life was X, Y, and Z. And as I kept growing up, I kept learning more and more. And the funniest thing about me growing up in life in general, because it's constantly happening, is that there's more to learn. There's always more to learn. And I find it hilarious when we think we know everything. I used to think I knew everything. I was like, this is how you do this. This is how this is done. This is how this is done. And you just keep learning more and more. And the biggest thing was when my brother moved up here, Marco. And when he moved up here, that's when everything changed. I would have never thought of being an entrepreneur until he moved up here because he was like, I'm going to start my own personal training business. Okay, cool. I'll help with that. But what I thought it was climb the corporate ladder, become a VP, go and just live an immaculate life. I didn't know about investing. I didn't know anything else. And it was hilarious to me once I learned there was so much more. After I got a coach, after I started doing investing, after I started learning about money, learning about mental health, everything. And it was really funny to me because I was like, wow, there is so much more to life. And I play video games that would show me this, but I wouldn't apply it to real life. Like I would just play these games and be like, I'm the best character ever, but I could be the best character in real life too. And once I learned that, it just made me so happy that life is actually whatever we want it to be. And I used to be very depressed, and now I am the happiest I am ever because I keep learning more. And I'm a student of life. And I realized that when you have bad things happen, no matter what, all you can do is look at it and learn from it. you can't sit there and dwell on it. It's always a good experience when you look back and you're like, wow, I did this, 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 this. This is how I'm going to do this, this, this now. I'm going to keep moving forward. And so when my brother moved up here, I really thought I was just going to be having fun all the time and it was just going to be giggles and whatnot. But it truly showed me that there was more to life and I wasn't expecting that. And now that I have my son, it was even better. I was like, wow, there's really more to life.
There's a lot more with Luca now, and he's so cute and he's getting so big.
He is. He's actually starting to walk now. He's doing steps. He did like 8 steps one day. Today he was walking as much as possible. We brought him to the park at 6 a.m. this morning when no other kids are there because he would be trampled.
Right?
So we just let him run around. So it's been a lot of fun with him.
I love that. Well, Fabio, you are the best, and I just appreciate you because you have helped me, you know, reach my audience and, you know, just help me grow. And you're just such a fun friend. So I appreciate you coming on today and being part of Talk with Coach.
Hey, I appreciate you having me on here, Becca. And I appreciate you still wanting to work with me and really keep pushing the limits and being uncomfortable all the time
All
to
the
just
time.
keep growing your personal presence online because it's hard to do, everyone. It really is hard to do, and it's not for everyone. And once you start, you should never stop. That's
Yeah.
the biggest problem is the stop.
That's right. Well, everybody, this wraps up another empowering episode with Talk with Coach. I hope you guys found today's conversation insightful, valuable, actionable, and you learned how to maybe grow your presence on social media and what would be the best options for you. Remember, growth is a journey and every step forward counts. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, like, join the podcast on Spotify and YouTube. Go to my YouTube channel for more inspiring content. And hey, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts, questions, and topic suggestions by reaching out to us on social media. Either myself or Fabio are always commenting and replying and always watching your comments. So until next time, keep striving for greatness, keep pushing your limits, and remember your success story is waiting to be written. This is Becca Goldsberry signing off. Take care and make it a blessed day, you guys.